All right, folks, you may know him as Agent Sidwell, but he's also on a great show called The Last Ship. We're going to talk about that. Of course, we cannot get away from talking about Captain America, it seems, right now, so we're going to fit him in. Welcome, Maximiliano Hernandez. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very good. Can we call you Max? Is that what Mama calls you? Mama call you Max?
Absolutely. You can call me Max. It's a lot easier on the syllables.
Especially for us down in the South. Max, what a great role having. You will go down in history. No one's going to forget Agent Sitwell now. And folks, if you have not seen Captain America: The Winter Soldier, if you haven't seen the latest on Agents Marvel Shield, you probably just want to come back to this interview in a couple days because I don't want to be handcuffed by all the spoiler alerts. Because, oh man, this is good stuff. I tell you what, as a fanboy, as growing up as a fanboy, and you're a comic book guy too, right?
I am. I'm a big comic book guy. I still have I have a subscription right now to Indestructible Hulk. I've had it for years and years. Oh, now it's Indestructible Hulk. Yeah. So, but Hulk is without my favorite. So
if you had to be an Avenger, you're Hulk.
I'm a Hulk dude. I'm a Hulk guy. I've always been. Growing up watching the Bill Bixby show, and you know, I was just always sort of drawn to that character. I think it's a great character.
So how on earth could you have contained yourself when you got the role to be Agent Sitwell?
I didn't. I jumped around.
There you go. All right.
Jumped around. Yeah. A good friend of mine she cast Iron Man, and she cast Thor, and she cast the early part of Marvel, working with Marvel when they were like getting everything up off the ground. She's an VP at Disney, casting at Disney, and she actually cast me. I met her in New York, and she cast me in a film called Pride and Glory that I did with Edward Norton and Colin Farrell and John Voight. And she knew I was a comic book geek, and she said, "Hey, I'm casting something for Marvel. It's Thor, and there's a character that I want you to come in and read for named Jasper." She said called Agent Sitwell. And I was like, "Jasper Sitwell?" And she was like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, of course I'm going to go and read for Jasper Sitwell. And then I told her, I said, you know, I look nothing like the comic Jasper Sitwell. And she was like, no. She's like, it's Kenneth Branagh's directing. You know, they want a different look. They want a different take. And, you know, they just want something new.
She probably didn't know who Jasper was without the footnotes.
Yeah,
you want to quote the comic book like nobody's business.
No, that's the one thing about my friend. She's very well informed, and she'll know everything that she needs to know, even though she's not like a fangirl. She's like, that's not her world, but she's very well informed. And when I went in for the audition, there were pictures of Jasper Sitwell up, and I just started laughing because I was like, nothing. I look nothing like him.
Yeah, you don't.
And she laughed too, and she said, no, come on in and read for it. So I read for it. And then it was pretty much the same day. She's like, Kenneth saw it. He really liked what you did. And, you're going to be Jasper Sitwell. And that's kind of how it happened.
You got the little spin-off there with Item 47, and I tracked down an interview. And Stephen got it for me.
And the consultant. Yeah, the consultant was the first one. After Thor, we did the consultant.
Right. And then I got Max on tape saying, no one ever dies in the Marvel Universe. Oh!
But you know what? No one ever dies in the Marvel Universe. You look at, Coulson is alive and kicking.
That's true. We may not have seen the last.
The last time I saw him, before the show, he had been run through with an Asgardian spear. So, he was pretty dead. So, no one really dies in the Marvel Universe. It's all story-based and it's all plot-based, so, you never know if Jasper Sitwell pops up again, in what fashion, or whether or not, what you saw was a real Sitwell.
Well, and, growing up in comic books, the folklore was forever growing up, only Bucky stays dead. And, of course, once we broke that barrier, there are no rules, so Jasper could be back.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of different things. There are clones. There are life model decoys. There are plenty of things in the Marvel universe. Yeah, there are plenty of things in the Marvel universe. To me it seems like Nick Fury was pretty torn up at the loss of Coulson, so maybe he didn't want to go through something like that again, or losing his top agent. So who knows? Who knows who died?
When you read for right? The Winter Soldier scene. You've got all this piece together. Do you kind of like have a little bit of a cringe inside, like, oh man, I don't want to be that guy, or do you just like, oh man, this is kind of a cool dimension?
Yeah, well, you know what? I started off that way, like, what is this? What's going on here? And then I'm reading and I read the scene with Senator Stern, and that's when it's like real, like, oh, okay. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, the fanboys are going to lose it when he says that, when he says Hail Hydra. I was like, they're going to really be like, oh my God, this really does go all the way to the top, And so there was a bit of a cringe at the beginning, and then I was like, what a cool element, because this is something that people are not going to be expecting. They're going to think it's like outside forces, and the fact that it's all sort of inside forces, pushing all the buttons, is just a great thing to do, because it's like it forces you to rip S.H.I.E.L.D. apart. It forces you to like rip off the mask and look in the face, and I think that's a great thing. So at first I was a little, I don't want to be Hydra, but then I was like, you know what? They're so far ahead. This is the thing about Marvel. It's so far ahead. Their stories are so far ahead. They're thinking like, in terms of a decade ahead.
It's longer than that, brother. We just posted the story. They're out till 2028.
I mean,
Kevin came clean and told us that's what's on the whiteboard, man. So
when it comes to Kevin Feige, when it comes to Louis Esposito, when it comes to Victoria Alonso and everyone else involved, they're so well put together. They're so well oiled. But not only that, they're so genuinely, really excited about everything. They are so like, it's like I've never met studio heads that are so gung ho, so like, oh my God, this is going to be awesome, and that's how they talk to you. That's how they talk to you. It's not like any like, oh well, yes, we're hoping that the fourth quarter picks up. It's nothing. There's nothing like that. They could care less about that stuff. They're all so story driven. I mean, obviously they want everything to be a success with their studio, but they're so story driven and plot driven, and everything for them is like, isn't this cool? Isn't this cool? Isn't this cool? Over and over again. So it's pretty exciting to be involved in stuff like that. And they're so far ahead of what you're thinking about. We're thinking about, like, people are thinking about, like, like what's happening at the end, or like what's the fourth film in the phase 3, and they don't care about that. They're so far ahead already. They're like, okay, you guys think about that stuff. We're thinking about the decade after that.
Right.
How far ahead is it going to be? They've got about 80 years of Marvel characters that can be brought back that were sort of franchised out or licensed out to other companies. So they've got a lot on their plate. And I think their use of the TV show has been amazing, like how it connects to the movies, like directly, and how it goes back and forth. And even like my character right now I think it's the record for playing the character the most times on both TV and films. I think it's like 8 appearances by this character back and forth, television and film, in Marvel, an independent Marvel project. So it's they have forethought. They're putting it all together, and it's
so well done. I don't even know where to begin.
It is. Isn't it fun? Isn't it
well,
fun?
I'm not even totally, like, I wasn't really even totally sold on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, I really was enjoying it. I love the cameos, and I really like it. But there's times where it kind of felt tedious, and I'm kind of like, man, come on, don't do this to me, man. I really want to love. And then this last episode, man, the whole world gets turned upside down. If you've seen Captain America, you're like, oh, this is some of the most brilliant TV to thread so much depth together with both things happening simultaneously. And of course, I have to ask, is the Sitwell line, I got a boat to catch, did that come along later, early? I mean, what point in the phase does that come? Who comes in the room and go, hey, listen, you got to make sure this is the dialogue, so the fanboys go crazy? I mean, I had already shot Cap. That point. Yeah, I had already shot Cap at that point. It was that came much later, but I guess they were weaving their way, because I mean, obviously the repercussions is S.H.I.E.L.D. can no longer exist the way S.H.I.E.L.D. existed. You know what I mean? So I think it turned into, how do we sew all this together? Yep.
And then they have, because Josh is executive producer on it, and Jeff Lowe. I mean, they have constant communication with Marvel Studios to, like, just keep everything, as you can tell, all sort of sewn together. So I think they needed something to, I think that's the great line. Like I got a boat to catch. You know what I mean? And then like the opening scene of Captain America is the boat.
Oh, the fanboys went crazy.
They went. I know. And what's funny, reading the script and doing and shooting all this stuff. I'm good friends actually too. I'm friends with Frank Grillo, who plays Crossbones. This is actually our third movie that we've done together. The first one we did was Pride and Glory. The second was Warrior, and this is the third film that we've both been in the film together. And it's so funny because he and I, like, we've gone through our, the productions of other things, and then we look at each other like, and I'd already worked with Marvel, and he's looking at me like, this is crazy. This is just crazy. I'm like, I know, brother. Get ready. It's gonna be so much fun.
And it's fun, right? I mean, first off, you got to you got to drop my name to Frank and get me hooked up because I keep chasing Frank down. He's always got too much going on. Say, listen, take off 15 minutes and talk to me. Talk to this crazy guy in Florida, man.
I'm trying to take Frank's role as the hardest working guy in show business. He's got so much stuff going on. I thought I'm on 2 television shows right now, and I know. I thought that was and so now I'm like, okay, now I'm looking for a third and another movie just so I can be like, I'm working more than Frank Grillo is. That's my only reason. That's my only reason to say it. But so it's for us it's amazing to be involved in something like this, because it's not only is so much fun, but it's like the fanboys directly connect to it. Like I was very lucky because I know there was some backlash to Idris being cast as Hemdall, and I was like, that's retarded. But then the other side of it, people were like exploding, saying this is the coolest thing, and it's great. His reaction as Brock Rumlow was great. People really really took to it because they're like, you know what, he's a good, perfect, kind of guy for it, and I can't wait to see what they do with him next.
And they did a good job. They did a great job with pushing really close, and then they kind of let off the gas a little bit, so you want more instead of spoon feeding. Like the normal Hollywood thing would be, he's on the table and he puts on the uniform. No, we don't need all that. Marvel's too smart for that. Let's just chill that out for a minute.
Just knowing he was pulled from the rubble, lets you know. Okay,
Right. Well, and George's role, George St. Pierre, he plays another character as well. Yeah. We know he's still out there. That's the brilliance of Marvel.
Absolutely. Yeah, and what's funny, I don't know if you've noticed, but in that scene where he's revealed that he had been captured and he's being interrogated, the 2 guys interrogating him are the writers of Captain America: Winter Soldier.
The Russos,
McFeely and Chris Marcus.
McFeely and Marcus.
They're the ones you just see them, and it's so funny because I didn't notice it the first time I saw it, and then I did, and now that cracks me up, and what's written on Fury's tombstone cracks me up.
Yep.
There's a few little things like that in the movie that I think are just hilarious. It's fun when the people making the movie make it fun because they want to laugh and they want to have a good time too. And I think it's awesome about working on these movies. It's absolutely it just feels you feel like this is not just work. It's like we're gonna have fun. We're really gonna have a lot of fun doing this. So it's exciting.
Well, we're talking to Max Hernandez, and we're going to have to shift gears a little bit. And I know you may be on the clock here, but that's all right. We'll see if we can squeeze a little bit more conversation. Because I haven't had a chance to watch it, know much about it. But The Last Ship is right up my alley, man. I love these apocalyptic shows, another pandemic outbreak. So you're Doc Rios, man. Tell everybody a little bit about what's going on with this great show.
Well, this is from Michael Bay. It's a show called The Last Ship, and what basically happens is 80% of the world is wiped out by a global pandemic, and we are the last we're the last ship in the naval flotilla, and the reason we are sort of like saved from this whole thing is we were under radio silence for 4 months doing scientific experiments in Antarctica, and as part of the crew, we had 2 scientists aboard running tests. It wasn't really clear what the tests were. And then when we come out of radio silence and we log back on, there's no one on the other line. There's no more president. There's no more command structure. Basically, the world doesn't exist the way it was when we left. And that's because this disease has taken over the earth. We then find out that the scientists on board our ship were actually trying to find a cure, and it was so classified that they could not let us know. So there's definitely feelings of like animosity from the crew because no one was able to contact their family to be like, get somewhere safe. Don't come in contact with people. There was no pre-thought. There was no like we couldn't warn anyone. So there's definitely elements of that on the ship. But what the show really does, and I guess it's like probably one of the big successes also of like a show like Walking Dead, which I am a huge fan of, is how does isolation affect the human condition? What do people do when they're pushed to the brink? How do they react? Do they band together or do they fall apart? So there's elements of that in the show, very strong elements of that throughout the show. And I play the ship's doc. I play the corpsman. I'm a chief petty officer. I play the corpsman, which is basically the ship's doctor. Rona Mitra, Sam Spruill play the scientists on the ship. Eric Dane is our captain. Adam Baldwin is the XO. And just a really great cast. Charles Parnell plays our Master Chief on the ship. Really great actors. A lot of new actors that no one's ever seen, which is great because some of them are newly graduated Juilliard, newly graduated Yale, newly graduated Harvard. These are kids who literally have never been in front of a camera, and they excel. They really do. They really step up. There's a lot of kids here that like, it's like as myself and a couple of the other Charles Barnell were like sort of journeyman actors. They're like asking us questions like, what does rack focus mean and what does all this stuff mean? And we're like telling them as we're doing the show, which is great. But they just bring a fresh, clean energy to play that sort of like young recruit, that young enlisted person that maybe would have, joined up right after high school. And now they're on this ship and now they're thrown into this environment where they are, like meant to say, look, we know you signed up to help your country, but now it's like you're really going to help the world. So it's a really exciting show. It starts airing in June on TNT. But you said you saw the pilot.
Yep. Got a little screen, little taste. No, it's good stuff. Don't want to miss out on that. So you guys know how much we talk about Walking Dead, Revolution, Jericho, and all that. And this is going to be up your alley if you like that sort of stuff.
That is definitely right up the same. It's got that same feel as those shows. And being that it's Michael Bay, there's a lot of explosions, a lot of real stuff. We shot on an active naval ship. An actual naval destroyer in San Diego. So, when we're out there, when you see stuff, exteriors on that ship, that's a real ship. A lot of our background are real naval guys. The Navy is very heavily involved in the production in terms of like making sure everything is right, and we really make a concerted effort that the language, the verbiage we use, the way we communicate with one another on ship. Is right and on point, and I think anyone who's ever been in the Navy is going to love the show. And if you've never been in the Navy, you're going to be awed by just, you start thinking about the responsibility that a lot of these young men and women have, and it's pretty impressive. And it's a really, I'm very proud. We're done. We wrapped the season, so you people are going to watch it pretty much like a straight run before there's a season 2. So. I'm very, very excited. So it's very busy for me right now.
Yeah, I think it's like 10 straight episodes, right? Yeah, so it's gonna be.
Yeah,
good.
It's 10. I'm not in the.
You're in about half, right? Yeah, you're in about half.
I'm in episode 2 and on.
Okay.
I believe I'm in 8 out of the 10 episodes.
Okay. All right. We're not keeping you too long, right?
Not at all. No.
All right. So let's hear about this other show. Listen, Max is busy. We gotta get out there and support the man.
I'm busy.
Good stuff. Gotta pay the bills. What else is Max in?
I am currently shooting a new show now that I'm very, very excited about. It's going to be on Amazon Prime. It's a show called Hand of God with Ron Perlman and Andre Royo from The Wire. He played Bubbles on The Wire. And Dana Delaney and myself and Garrett Dillahunt is on it as well. He's excellent. And it takes place in a small town in sort of like Central Coast, California. A town that seems, kind of sleepy. You find out it's got like a little corrupt side to it. And Ron Perlman plays a judge, a very powerful judge whose family is the founders of this town, called San Vicente. And in this town, a crime occurs that involves his son and his son's wife. And it kind of pushes his son to try to kill himself. And it drives the judge to madness. and it's basically he starts hearing the voice of his son in his head, and he doesn't know if it's real or not. But he's trying to find justice for what happened to his son and his daughter-in-law, and how he starts bending the laws that he's supposed to enforce, and how he takes solace in sort of like a manufactured religion in order to almost deem himself as a Solomon. And he's trying to find justice for his son, but he takes it a little too far.
Wow.
And I play the chief of police on the show. Andre Royo plays the mayor, and Ron Perlman plays the judge. So the three of us are sort of like swirled up, caught up in these events that start happening in the town. It's really, really powerful stuff. Mark Forrester is directing. He directed World War Z.
Oh yeah.
He's an amazing director. I think
he wanted to do this because that's why he passed on the sequel. He's just I got to get involved with the End of God project.
He is. It's amazing. The show is really. We actually just begun shooting this week. This is our first week. This is going to be our first. Tomorrow's going to be our first full week of shooting. We're doing 3 weeks, and it's really intense. Dana Delaney plays Ron Perlman's wife, and it's just brilliant because it's a very sort of Lady Macbeth type character who is someone who's not only married to power but likes to wield the power as well. Written beautifully by Ben Watkins, who he's been around for a little bit writing too. So it's nice to have veteran writer, veteran director, and just people who are handling really well. And it's again, just a project that I actually sought out to be a part of. This wasn't just me like auditioning for this was me like calling my agent saying, "There's this project called Hand of God. I just read the script, and I need to be a part of it." And we made it happen. That and the fact that Andre Royo is my best friend. So I was like, we've known each other for 20 years, and he and I started doing theater in New York 20 years ago, and we've never worked together on television. So I was like, all right, this is a perfect opportunity. I want to do this project. I'm coming off a Cap. I'm coming off a Last Ship. I'm coming off another movie that I had at Sundance. I'm like, I want to do this show too. So we kind of pushed for it, and I got in, the room and just did what I had to do. And I am very, very excited about the project. There's a lot of twists and turns in this show in particular. Last Ship has tons of twists and turns, and this show is, without a doubt. And I think Amazon, like Netflix and like Hulu, they're starting to really handle these original programs really well. I think they're starting to they're tapped in. I think they're tapped into the market perfectly.
Well, they're not playing around. I mean, you're going toe-to-toe with Ron Perlman. They're bringing in Dana Delaney and yourself, and, they're not going to go into this halfway. I mean, this is a great, great time to be a fan of television right now because you've got competition breeds success. And you start getting this, you get best writers, you get the best actors, you get good stuff. I mean, look at what HBO's done. Oh, my goodness, it's incredible. They changed the face of television, and now it's bled over into even some network shows and that kind of thing. It's just good stuff, and good to hear you getting such great shows. This is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a really good time. It's a very positive time for me because I am, and I tell this to people a lot of times. I'm like a middle class blue collar actor. Like to me. I like walking through the street. I don't particularly care if people know who I am, but I like when actors say, "Hey, man, I saw you do that thing. That was great." And I can say, "Hey, brother, I saw you in that picture. I got to tell you were fantastic." To me, that means when peers and people who work in the business with me come up to me and say, "Hey, I love that." That's what really revs my motor. That's what really says, you know what? Then I feel like the choices that I've made. The auditions that I maybe turned down because I felt like it wasn't what would feed my career in a positive way. That's what gets me going because there are a lot of things that are out there that I honestly just don't go in on. Like I say, you know what, this is either not positive for me in terms of like feeding me creatively, or it's just not positive for me for the way that I like the world to see how I work or what I do. So. And for me, that's the main thing. I read that project. I read Hand of God, and I was like, I gotta be in this. And there's a lot of actors too. I'm very blessed. I'm very fortunate that the other actors read the same thing too and said, I need to be part of this thing too. So I'm very lucky to be in this cast. And then I have another movie, a movie that was, if I could talk about it a little bit, I did a film.
Sundance film. Yep.
A film called, there's a film called Imperial Dreams that I shot. Really, really, really small budget, about $3 million budget, indie film that had gone through Sundance and is now out in the world. And hopefully it'll get some distribution. John Boyega, who's now, who's in a movie called Attack the Block.
Yes.
And so he was the lead in Attack the Block, and now he's doing the Jesse Owens biopic. He's the lead. I'm in the film. Sufi Bradshaw, who's on Veep, plays my partner. I play a detective, and she plays my partner. And it's just basically about a guy just trying to get out from under being involved with gangs in Los Angeles, in Watts. And we shot the whole thing in Watts, on location, in, like, the projects. And it won its category at Sundance. It was in the next category. And it's just a great, great film. And I hope people will, give it a little bit, give it some love and attempt to check it out. It's really powerful. And yeah, so it's like, the beauty of doing a Captain America is like I can immediately go and say, you know what, let's do like an indie movie. Let's do something that goes to Sundance. Let's get behind something that, could just feed me differently, could feed a different, thing. So I like to do that every so often when it's like, because I've done a lot of studio movies and, and I've never done like a true indie film, like a really like, hey, they can't pay you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was like, look, and to me, it's always like, look, it's okay. I just did Captain America. Like, I don't need a paycheck right now, but I want something that just fulfills me creatively. To me, that's what the work is about. That's when you get to a place to be able to, do the projects that you want to do. It doesn't always have to be about, doing a $170 million movie. So, I feel very, right now, like there's a great swell of momentum that I'm working with, and I feel like I've been surrounded by a lot of positive people that want that to continue. So, I'm very excited. It's a very exciting time for me.
Very, very exciting time indeed. Max, stay on the line with us real quick, and then Maximiliano Hernandez, folks. And wow, from Agent Sitwell to The Last Ship to the Amazon Prime show called Hand of God, Imperial Dreams at Sundance, just an incredible time for him. And God bless you, sir. I love talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.